The Trump administration's move on Brazil is completely backfiring, and Lula da Silva is just saying no. On Friday, the United States State Department attempted to parachute two of its operatives, Riley M. Barnes and Samuel Sampson, from the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor directly into Brazil. The official cover story presented to the press, they were dispatched as election monitors to safeguard the integrity of the upcoming October 2026 presidential election. Now, Lula da Silva's foreign ministry looked at the flight manifest they came in on and basically laughed out loud and slammed the door. Visas denied. The Brazilian government did not politely decline the request through back-channel diplomats. They publicly and loudly accused Washington of orchestrating a politically motivated intelligence operation designed to undermine the credibility of their electronic voting system. Sound familiar? You need to understand the scale of this. This is not some Cold War era covert operation where the CIA funnels cash through a ghost corporation to fund a proxy militia. The Trump administration is treating the largest economy in South America, the South American hegemon, a founding member of BRICS, like a 19th century banana republic, and they're doing it with zero plausible deniability. And why? Because the economic extortion that took place, not just earlier this month, but throughout 2026. When Lula refused to play ball on Washington's demands regarding resource access, U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer and Secretary of State Marco Rubio dropped really a massive hammer. They weaponized Section 301 trade determination, slapping punitive 25% tariffs on $10 billion worth of Brazilian exports. We're talking about timber, clothing, sugar, paper, shoes. The sheer breadth of grievances cited by the USTR was absolutely staggering because they complained about everything from deforestation practice to ethanol market access. But the most critical target in that Section 301 determination, and the one you really need to pay attention to the most, was Brazil's central bank-owned PIX payment platform. Now let's pause on PIX for a second because this connects directly to what we established in the liquidity reset during our Eurasian audit. The United States government isn't attacking PIX because it's a convenient Venmo clone for South America. They're attacking it because it's a completely sovereign digital instant payment infrastructure run directly by the Brazilian central bank that processes trillions of dollars of transactions at near zero cost. It completely circumvents Western private credit card networks like Visa and MasterCard. But more importantly, PIX creates the precise digital architecture required to bypass the US dollar clearinghouse entirely. This is exactly what the US fears. If you want to know why Washington is bundling a digital payment app into a tariff dispute alongside timber and ethanol, it's because sovereign payment rails are an existential threat to dollar hegemony. When a massive BRICS nation proves it can move capital seamlessly outside of SWIFT in the dollar ecosystem, the entire enforcement mechanism of US sanctions begins to fracture. What PIX is truly is the structural blueprint for a parallel microeconomy, and Washington is trying to crush it before it scales globally. So, the message from the White House to the Brazilian electorate is completely unambiguous. Vote for our preferred political proxy. Dismantle your sovereign financial architecture, or we're going to systematically bankrupt your export economy. We're going to freeze your dollar clearing access, and we're going to spike your compliance cost. The United States is perfectly willing to burn every remaining diplomatic bridge in the Western Hemisphere, purely because the defense industrial base is desperate for what lies beneath Brazilian dirt. And they're terrified of Brazil's financial autonomy. Now, if you want to understand the sheer absurdity of American foreign policy in 2026, you have to look at the proxy candidate that they've chosen to back, Jair Bolsonaro. The former president and traditional Trump ally is currently sitting under house arrest, serving a 27-year sentence for attempting to orchestrate a coup after losing the 2022 election. The old guard is legally and politically radioactive. So the MAGA machinery and the Trump administration, they've simply bypassed the father and elevated the son, Senator Flávio Bolsonaro. On July 25th, Flávio officially launched his presidential campaign at the Liberal Party convention in Sao Paulo. If you want a perfectly distilled visual metaphor for the death of organic domestic democracy, this convention provided it. Flávio didn't launch his campaign by focusing on domestic inflation, local infrastructure corridors, or the working class wages. He launched it by parading his international geopolitical backers to prove to the Brazilian elite that he was Washington's anointed son. He broadcasted a video endorsement from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Right? He played a direct message from Argentine President Javier Milei warning of the Lula risk. And let's be completely accurate about Milei's position here. The man wasn't throwing a temper tantrum about South American integration. He was gushing over in the backroom deals before realizing the cheap domestic political points he could score on a public stage. But the absolute dystopian centerpiece of the convention was an AI-generated message from Flavio's imprisoned father. They literally beamed the deepfake ghost on the stadium screens to bless his son's campaign. Right? It was a manufactured synthetic proxy blessing another synthetic manufactured proxy. But why is Flavio accepting this role as a vassal? Because he's politically and legally exposed back home. He's a Bolsonaro. His name is currently radioactive due to his deep entanglements, not only with his father, obviously, but in the Banco Master scandal, arguably the worst bank fraud case in recent Brazilian history involving his associate Daniel Vaccaro. Flavio desperately needs the political cover, the campaign funding, and the institutional legitimacy that comes exclusively with the backing of the United States executive branch. You have to remember that Flavio bypassed standard diplomatic channels entirely back in May, flying directly to Washington to kiss the ring with Trump and Rubio, right, to get his photo op. In exchange for this political protection, Flavio has agreed to a devastating bargain. Right? If elected, he promises rhetorical sovereignty but total operational surrender. So he aligned Brazil fully with the Trump administration's geopolitical architecture. He said he's willing to designate domestic crime syndicates in Brazil as foreign terrorist organizations, and what that's going to do is allow the U.S. intervention directly on Brazilian soil. He'll allow American wheat and ethanol to flood the domestic market duty-free. And most importantly, like we said, he's going to shatter systems like PIX. He's going to shatter systems like PIX, sever economic ties with Beijing, and hand the keys to Brazil's critical mineral supply chains directly to Washington without asking for anything in return. We have to ask the forensic macroeconomic question. Why is the United States acting with such heavy-handed, aggressive desperation? Why is the Secretary of State Marco Rubio taking unprovoked public pot shots at Lula while the USTR weaponizes Section 301 tariffs that actively hurt American consumers by driving up the cost of coffee and beef? Truly, it comes down to a structural panic inside the American defense industrial base and the broader technology sector. The entire narrative of the green energy transfer and the artificial intelligence revolution relies entirely on physical materials that the United States simply does not control. We're talking about lithium, niobium, natural graphite, and heavy rare earth elements required for everything from EV batteries to high-end interceptor missiles. Right now, China controls the processing capacity of pretty much all these materials that we don't have access to. Trade relations with Canada are fraying over border regulatory checks and transcontinental logistics bottlenecks. The traditional European alliances are fracturing, and Washington's looking at the global map and realizing that they're locked out of the next century of economic dominance. So yes, they're panicking. Earlier this year, Marco Rubio hosted the Critical Minerals Ministerial, officially launching Project Vault, a $10 billion domestic strategic reserve financed by the Export-Import Bank, meant to secure these vulnerable supply chains. But you can't build a physical reserve if sovereign countries refuse to sell you the raw ore at a fire sale price. Enter Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Now, Lula's geopolitical stance is deeply frustrating to Washington precisely because it's ruthlessly pragmatic. He refuses to allow Brazil to remain an unrefined resource extraction zone for the global north. He wants a better Brazil. He wants Brazil to have a future. And Lula's made this explicitly clear. If the United States wants access to Brazil's rare earths and critical minerals, the United States must invest heavily into the local processing capacity. They have to execute legitimate technology transfer. Right? They have to integrate Brazilian labor and capital into the high-value tiers of the supply chain. Lula is demanding a seat at the table where the macroeconomic rules of the new economy are written, and he's perfectly willing to play Washington and Beijing against each other to get the absolute best deal for his country, which really is a very reasonable and logical stance as the leader of a nation. The Trump administration doesn't want a sovereign negotiating partner. They want a compliant, silent vassal. Unable to outbid China financially, terrified of independent financial infrastructure like PIX, and completely unwilling to negotiate a fair technological transfer with Lula, The White House has just decided that the cheapest and fastest option is simply to replace the Brazilian government entirely. Right? They view blatant election interference not as a breach of diplomatic protocol, but as a standard corporate acquisition cost for critical minerals. But Washington's strategy was completely doomed to fail, and it is backfiring right in their face right now. By treating a sovereign nation like a strip mine and overtly putting their thumb on the scale for a dynastic political heir, the Trump administration has triggered a massive, uncontrollable geopolitical avalanche. Because nothing unifies a domestic population faster than a foreign superpower trying to openly extort them. The 25% tariffs on Brazilian goods were designed to crash Lula's economy, inflate local costs, and destroy his approval ratings ahead of the October vote. Instead, they handed him the ultimate political gift on a silver platter. Lula immediately pivoted, framing the tariffs not as an economic failure of his administration, but as a deliberate imperialist attack on Brazilian sovereignty, explicitly designed to benefit the Bolsonaro family. And the data backs him up entirely. Current polling shows that nearly half of the Brazilian electorate explicitly ties U.S. economic aggression directly to Flávio Bolsonaro's political ambitions. More than 40% of voters say that the new economic attack by the U.S. actively makes them want to vote for Lula. The tariffs are politically destroying the exact candidate Washington's trying to install. Over the first half of the year, Brazil's U.S.-bound exports fell to their lowest mark in history, accounting for less than 10% of Brazil's overall export market. They're already decoupling. Washington's transactional bullying is just accelerating the exact macroeconomic nightmare scenario that it was designed to prevent. By trying to bludgeon Lula into submission, the United States is proving to the entire global South that the American-led financial architecture is fundamentally predatory and untrustworthy. You don't have to look hard to see the immediate consequences. Lula's taken this U.S. aggression and weaponizing it to deepen Brazil's financial, logistical, and technological integration with China, India, and the broader BRICS bloc. When you threaten a nation's export economy because they refuse to hand over their lithium reserves, the last thing you're doing is securing a supply chain. You force the nation to seek alternative financial clearinghouses. You force them to build non-dollar denominated trade agreements. An arrogant White House thought that they were buying a cheap lithium mine by backing Flávio Bolsonaro. What they actually did was remind Brazil and the rest of the developing world exactly why they desperately need to build their own banking system, lean entirely into platforms like PIX to bypass the US dollar, and lock themselves into Beijing's economic orbit for the next generation. Like I said, it's hard power versus soft power. And what we've seen from the last couple political cycles is that soft power is always going to win. Because Washington played a short game of election extortion, and the consequence of that is that they lost the continent in the process. The situation surrounding the presidential election in Brazil is going to have a lot of consequences and really decides one of two things: a sovereign, prosperous Brazil in the future, or a future where Brazil is a vassal state to the U.S. So we're going to keep an eye on this and see what Washington, D.C.'s reaction is going to be. I'm sure they're going to try to throw some kind of punitive measure, which, again, is just going to be weaponized by Lula, really ensuring his victory in October. But let me know what you guys think. Food for thought as always. Take care.